Hello, everyone. Great to have you with us for another session of the Straits Times In Perspective Roundtable. Today, we are discussing the future of mobility in Singapore, and our topic is how will smart technologies shape the future of travel here? Millions of us take the MRT or buses to reach our places of work or complete our jobs every day. It is just part of our daily routine. All's well when the ride is on time and happens smoothly, but when it doesn't, it impacts our peace of mind. With so many things going on all around us, commuters expect accurate real-time information, near zero disruption, and seamless transfers. Much has been working well in recent times, but Singapore is reaching a stage where commuting smoothly will no longer be just about physical infrastructure. Smart technologies and data will have a key part to play. How well our systems can sense, predict, adapt, and respond in real time will decide whether it'll be a smooth ride for the frequent user. Our in-perspective research is also showing that commuters are generally willing to use new transport technologies, and they aspire towards a future where travel is seamlessly integrated across modes. It is safer and more secure and is also more comfortable and convenient. We are here to examine these issues before us and discuss what can we expect in the coming weeks, months, years, and decades to come. Allow me to introduce my panel to you. Right next to me is Mr. Ee Boon Chow. He's the Deputy Chief Executive, Infrastructure and Development at the Land Transport Authority. He is a railway professional with more than 26 years of experience, and he oversees the management of civil, electrical, and mechanical engineering, construction, safety, procurement, contracts, projects, and asset management at LTA. 26 years is a long time. What do you like about being in this space?
Building public infrastructure has always been a fulfilling job, particularly in LTA because being an engineer, I get to solve engineering problems. I get to work on project management issues and ultimately deliver the project. So this process has always been very enriching, and it's also very fulfilling and satisfactory for a person that is in this organization.
Yes, of course. Next to him is Mr. Ang Hang Wan, Group Chief Engineering Officer, SMRT Corporation. Under him, safety, reliability, and long-term asset integrity across the whole of the SMRT Corporation and its subsidiaries are his responsibilities. I hope your work doesn't disturb your sleep, sir.
Well, Shafali, operating and maintaining a real network and all those is a 24/7 job. So it is something that we take in our stride, and we understand that this is something that we wanted to deliver for the commuters, and this is something that we do every day.
Professor Raymond Ong from the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at NUS's College of Design and Engineering. Dr. Ong's research focuses on the future of mobility and infrastructure, including sustainable infrastructures for a circular economy and multimodal transport systems. We're looking forward to hearing a lot more from you from today's session.
Yes, thank you.
Last but definitely not least, we have Dr. Samuel Chung. He's a research assistant professor and head of the Urban Psychology Lab at the LKY Center for Innovative Studies at Singapore University of Technology and Design. Dr. Chung is an urban psychologist studying how urban policies, infrastructure, and environmental conditions shape behavior, well-being, and wider societal outcomes. We want to so much hear from you. It is about people, and the systems that we build have to work for them. So as an urban psychologist, isn't that a new area that has come up?
Yes, certainly the term may sound new or unfamiliar, but really it's about applying the understanding of humans, right? The behavioral science to complement the other systems and policy creation within our city. And we know that cities are unique and have unique challenges. Yeah. So how do we then work alongside engineers, policymakers to make a city a better place to live in?
Let me start with an opening question to all of you. So relatively speaking, Singapore already has one of the technologically most advanced rail systems. How far can the Republic move towards a fully integrated, intelligent mobility system? Should we start with you?
Okay, actually, for a public transport system to be very convenient for the public, I think you can say in three areas that we must look into. One, of course, is connectivity. We must make sure that our network is able to reach to the commuters. Second is reliability. We must make sure the system is reliable and predictable for them to always be able to trust it, so that they can reach their place of destination on time. I think the third thing that we should also always be looking out for is make sure that the customer experience is also taken care of throughout the whole journey. That means we would want them to be able to ascertain when the bus will come, so that they don't have to wait too long. And the distance from the first mile from the house to the transport node is also convenient, so that they can make their way to the station conveniently. And the interface between the different transport modes needs to be integrated seamlessly, so that the transfer between different transport modes is also able to be carried out in a seamless manner.
Maybe to add on to what Boon Chow said, I also perhaps share two perspectives. One of them is that to build on what we have achieved so far, I think we need to also work together as an ecosystem. Today we have LTA, who is the authority, build our infrastructure. We have the transport experts, and we have the operator. And I think the way that we leverage all our knowledge, our experience, and our different perspectives is very important, so that we can work together to look forward what are some of the future issues that may pop up, and work collectively to work on some of these. And infrastructure development, building system is not an overnight thing, and it takes time. So this is something that I think one way that we can look at it to do better. The other perspective is that nowadays the technology has been advancing so fast, whether it is AI-enabled system, whether it is data analytics, automation, or even video analytics, predictive methodologies. So these are some things that we are looking to incorporate into many of our system, redesigning certain work process as required, and basically is really at the end to serve the computer better.
To build on maybe on what Boon Chow and Han Guan has mentioned, yes, we know that connectivity, seamlessness, accessibility, these are the key issues that we are looking into, and the future of mobility will be a much more complex cyber-physical systems, whereby we have data from different nodes, physical infrastructures, and I would think we are going to evolve from a cyber-physical system to a cyber-physical emotional system, because the human element is where we want to actually see and serve eventually. And this is where I think Singapore is actually moving ahead, and we could well be a champion for this in the future.
I think the fellow panelists have already shared a lot, but I think at the end of the day, Singapore's transportation provision or systems and policy are really to move people, right?
Yeah.
And I think over the decades, we have become or are becoming more and more people-centric, really improving the quality. Not just about whether you have the buses or the trains, but it's also how you get there, right? So I think I'm really excited with the next bound of mobility innovations, as well as the new services that could be afforded by these innovations. What does it then mean for everyday users to travel within our city?
There are so many questions popping up in my mind. I'll probably begin with the whole issue of infrastructure and smart mobility first. And let me draw your attention to the recent rail reliability report that was just released. There are so many recommendations that have been made, from renewal of rail assets, a more system-wide data-driven approach, better spares management, standardized condition monitoring, and also closer data sharing across operators and LTA. Now, as Singapore's rail network ages and becomes more complex, which of these shifts will matter most for sustaining reliability, and what will be the hardest to roll out?
Actually, as the system ages, I think one of the key challenges is to determine when is the good time to renew the assets. Because some assets may fail progressively, but some assets may fail in a cliff-like manner. So collecting data to ascertain the condition of the assets is very important. and that would help us to make decisions on when to replace the assets timely. So this is one challenge. The second challenge is as the asset age, the workforce must also start to adjust the way they maintain and manage the asset, because how a new asset behave versus an aging asset will be different. To do that, you again need to collect information, data on assets, so that you can make adjustments to the way that you manage the asset, so that you don't really manage an asset if it's still new, but you must adjust it because the characteristics and the behavior and performance will change. So again, this requires data to be collected, analyzed, and insights to be gained from this data, so that we can adjust our processes accordingly.
Yeah, and I think just to add on, moving forward, what we need to do to renew assets on those. But we also take a so-called life cycle approach to look at it from the various induction of any systems all the way to the time where it's renewed or retired. And you need to do this because actually every system sometimes behave differently. As what Boon Chao say, there are different system characteristics. So a train may last for 30 years, that was designed for. An electronic system, maybe nowadays, the way that it's going, within 7 to 10 years is obsolete. So then you have to take a different approach to do it. You can't change out the whole train, but you have to do renewal, you have to do system upgrades and all those. So I think it is great that we're coming together as a system together with the operators as well as LTA to look through all these issues and to take the decisions what we need to do in a very calibrated and deliberate mode, keeping in mind that overall to maintain the whole system, there is also a cost to it. So you have to look at it from the total life cycle perspective.
Maybe I will add in from an academic perspective, because I've been teaching this course for some time in NUS. So the key issue of infrastructure asset management for the railway basically is to understand when is to do the right thing at the right place at the right time. So basically, if we look at that, information is critical, as what Boon Chao and Han Guan has mentioned. And in this case, of course, AI, machine learning, even robots are good methods for us to collect this data. But behind the scene, we need competent engineers and technicians to interpret the data and to actually give an on-field assessment on when things might fail or are going to fail. And we must give enough lead time for budgeting, for going through the protocols, for informing the public on when the disruption is going to be done because of the maintenance program, right? So in these aspects, we are looking at a whole of system approach, and most importantly is actually the cost component. My cost is not just the monetary cost. There's also a non-monetary cost, because a delay or being unable to travel because of maintenance program is going to be borne by the commuters, and we need to minimize that as well. So it's actually, I would say, it's a total life cycle cost approach that the agencies are actually considering.
Samuel?
Yes, so maybe a slightly different perspective, because I'm a non-engineer, right? But I think over the last few years, you've seen quite a lot of reports and sharing about what is going on, very frank, open discussions and reporting. And I think all this have been a very good progress, right? In the sense, people now understand, even for non-technical folks like myself, then we can go through and say, okay, this is what they have studied, this is what they have recommended, right? I have an understanding now why systems need to be refreshed. I have an understanding about why there are different life cycles for different parts of the system, and why, as a commuter, then we might have to put up with some inconvenience in the short term, for longer term reliability. So I think in this aspect, we have really moved forward, and I think there's a general better understanding about how things are functioning as part of the city. And the good thing about living in Singapore is, our systems work. But the challenging part is people might not understand what keeps or what is needed to keep the systems moving, right, and working in optimal conditions. So I think in transportation, we have a better understanding now, better appreciation.
So, what are the biggest challenges when it comes to upgrading legacy infrastructure?
Maybe I'll share, because from the operator perspective, as what Samuel has highlighted, keeping the system running regularly, consistently, reliably is what the commuters expect. And every time we have to make a hard decision, and very often we do it together with LTA, whether to do a renewal, we need to also determine exactly what is the right time, how long it will take, which option do we take such that we cause the least inconvenience to the commuter. And there are times where the answer may be relatively simple, and we can do it with an extended period of night window. There are times in which that, just doing it every night and then after that starting again the next night, it doesn't quite make sense, and it drags out the whole project way longer. So in those cases, then we will have to find a way to so-called, perhaps like the recent Circle Line, in which we shut down certain part of tunnels to do the work. But I think the most important is how do we communicate to the public, to let them understand that together as the community, that this is an important piece of work, and how are we going to do the best to make it better, while as best as we can, giving clear instructions, preparing the information ahead of time to let everybody know some of the inconvenience that's coming online, but it is really to build a safer and more reliable network.
Yeah. I just want to add on to what Han Guan said. Actually, engineering hours is a very variable resource because the operators have to use it to do maintenance. And once we start to have more of this renewal, or we call it brownfield projects, some of these engineering hours will need to be sacrificed or allocated for the projects instead of maintenance. So we need to balance this resource with the operators to execute all these projects. And actually, when we do renewal, it's not just replacing equipment. Actually, railway system is a very complex system. It's a system of systems.
Yes.
And if, for example, if you change a signaling system, actually it involves upgrading the trains.
Yeah.
And if you add trains, actually it involves upgrading the power supply system.
Yeah.
It's a web of systems that you need to consider when you want to really do a system renewal. It's not just changing out a piece of equipment, but you need to consider the impact of changing the equipment or upgrading a new equipment, and what is its impact to the whole railway system. And you may have to, because of changing out one type of asset, you need to corresponding change another asset. If not, you may have to do abortive or duplicative work. So it requires a lot of planning, a lot of thinking through.
I'm just wondering, are we catching up on past underinvestment? And
So as you might have noticed, our reliability has been maintaining at a high level in the past years. This is through the efforts of LTA and the operators to ensure that we keep the systems running. And to do that, timely renewal is one of the key initiatives. Even for North South Straits Line, we have undertaken the renewal of the 6 core assets that we have completed recently. And this has helped to improve the reliability of the railway systems as a whole. Yeah.
Maybe just to add on, actually this issue is not so straightforward, as I mentioned. So on the various forums that I have internationally, when we talk to other operators, especially those who are reaching throughout the renewal cycle, they are always very interested, excited to learn from us. How did we do it? What are the challenges? What are the things that you shouldn't do? What are things you should do? And this is something that we have always been able to be at the forefront, which is why, as what Boon Chao said, we are still among the best leading operators in terms of reliability in the world.
Yeah, if I may add, I mean, Han Guan and Boon just already mentioned the challenges of maintaining and renewing the infrastructure. I have to actually emphasize on the fact that our infrastructure is aging.
Yeah.
And if you go to cities like New York, DC, or London, their infrastructures are way older than us. And if you've been there, you will see that actually sometimes the line simply just closed down for days or even weeks or months just for renewal exercise. And this is something that we cannot deny, and it might actually happen because the engineering hours is just simply too short to actually renew the entire system of systems. And that's where just as mentioned, when is the right time to do the right thing at the right place at the right time, really come into play. And this is a hard decision to make. And the idea is that we have to make the commuters actually understand the technical consequences of it, and what if we do not do it, what's going to happen.
Yes.
And that's why it's actually a engagement exercise to make sure that everybody's on the right, on the same boat and is on the right track.
Let me bring in the commuter angle here. And I'm just wondering, what are the best ways of upgrading by causing minimal disruption? Samuel, do you want to share your thoughts?
Maybe 2 points are related to the previous conversations, right? First is, if we look at it as a complex systems, right? A system of systems. If our human body is one example.
Exactly.
We do not work 365 days. We break down sometimes, right? We fall sick sometimes. And we do take a break, right? Holidays and whatnot. Right? So same thing for the system. I think in ideal case, all of us would expect everything would run 24/7 all the time perfectly. But that's not reality. So I think from that point, the commuter expectations will have to be managed also. I think we have to manage our own expectations. Right. So, for instance, we don't expect trains to run from 2 a.m. to 4 or 5 a.m. also. It's realistic. But beyond that, how do we evolve as commuters, right? To say, okay, our system is aging.
Yeah.
We need to put up with some inconvenience. We need to have maybe extended engineering hours or some line closures to facilitate some repairs. But in Singapore, we have multiple alternatives, right? For instance, when the lines are closed, the buses are available. So how do we ensure that there is this kind of parallel services that can help people to get about their daily lives? Because I think that, to my second point, then commuters actually value not just reliability, but certainty.
Yeah.
Yes.
If I know that it's going to shut, I will adjust my timing.
Yes.
I will adjust my daily activities, right, for that period of time. So I think that's what the commuters would like. Certainty, knowing what is going to happen, when it's going to happen. And it may not be kind of 1 month ahead of time. Yeah. It could be just in the morning when I wake up, I open and I look at the map and I say, okay, there's a disruption here, there's a traffic jam there. Yes. Okay, I'm going to reroute because I know I can get there in 1 hour or 45 minutes if I take this. Right? Then there's a trade-off that the commuter then makes in their mind, taking into consideration everything that is available.
Would you like to share your thoughts on, a lot has been falling into place lately to ensure that disruptions are kept to a minimum, but looking forward, are there other considerations going on?
I think if we look at the recent exercise whereby the Circle Line has been doing maintenance, right? And LTA has been working way in advance to tell commuters on the maintenance works to be done and providing bus services or even giving timely updates on when the line is moving, the direction is moving, are we going to change the directions and so on. This is actually a very useful information to commuter, and as what Samuel has mentioned, that certainty is actually very important because as any normal human being, we don't like to be suddenly told an uncertain situation and we're going to react to that. But the certainty actually gives me a much more valuable interpretation on what is supposed to be done, and coupled with perhaps apps, then that will actually help us in determining the best option to move.
Yeah. So just to elaborate on Raymond's point, actually, for planned disruption, I think we can do it better because we have time to communicate, we have time to prepare, we have time to look at the ridership information and see how to use buses to divert the crowds. I think one of the key challenges is the unplanned disruptions, where it's due to faults or due to equipment failure. So this is the point that Raymond mentioned, that we should be looking at how to use apps or to inform the public real time or when there is an unplanned disruption. So this is one area we are trying to work with Google, so that when people open the Google app, they can get information in real time where are the areas that is not accessible, and they can replan their routes during unplanned disruptions.
Good, you mentioned apps and you mentioned the work that you're doing with Google. So technology has a big role to play in the smart mobility era. So what can commuters expect? How will they benefit in the smart mobility era?
I think moving forward, the commuters we will be able to expect when we develop more AI-enabled apps and all those, such that when they expect things when it's moving, everything is smooth, it's okay. But when there's a disruption, all those, not only just being able to know where are the disruption, but actually which planning where are the routes and all those. We are also developing a lifestyle app, and we have a Wing Plus, in which that not only do you do the journey planning, but you even have the availability to know where are the areas of exits, where is the best way to get to certain places. We have also things in which that built in the lifestyle component for them, such that we not only enhance the ride itself, the journey, but to build the lifestyle to them, so that when they get off at the station, they know what are available down there, what is the latest news from Straits Times, because the app will pull it in, what are all the best deals that they can get on it. So these are some of the things that, in addition to the reliability, we are also building a lifestyle towards that. Ultimately, the commuters is most important. The community is what we are also working on.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, maybe I can add on to Hangwan's point. This idea of having apps and lifestyle component is absolutely essential because in research studies, we always look at the value of time or the negative value of time when it comes to disruptions and delays, because that will actually increase the I would say, the anger component or the negative emotion component of a delay. But many studies have shown that if, let's say, I provide entertainment, then the value of time or the negative perception will actually much reduce. And if I have, let's say, a lifestyle component, let's say during a delay, but I can actually do a rerouting to maybe have a meal at a shopping mall nearby, or even have a coffee or doing some grocery shopping, that entirely changed the connotation about disruption, right? And that's why the power of the app is so important, because we're providing options to commuters in the event of any unplanned for disruptions.
I'm keen to hear our urban psychologist point of view too.
So I think the apps are great. And to add on one other feature, maybe as a commuter, I would hope and say, okay, I want to increase my step count by 5,000.
Okay.
Could you then promote or suggest to me another travel option, right? Maybe I'm willing to sacrifice additional 15 minutes of my time so that I do not need to go to the gym. Can I make traveling on public transport as part of my active hours, right? So maybe I do not need to take the feeder bus anymore. I walk.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take that into consideration. We are constantly upgrading our Wing Plus app. Next version coming out, I think, next week. But we'll take this into
I think that also helps with, for instance, if you just need to take 2 stops.
Understand.
Oh, maybe you just walk there, and then you can route through a very interesting neighborhood, for instance.
Correct.
It moves your whole journey from just being very transport centric to thinking about it as an experience.
Experience, yes.
Yeah.
I also want to know, how can we make our rail systems more inclusive for people who are not so digitally oriented? There are also seniors, there are people, with other issues. So what can we do to make it more inclusive?
Maybe inclusive also means, even though we talk about technology, we talk about AI, we talk about apps, we still need to ensure that all segments in our society, even if you choose not to bring a phone, you should be able to get around, right? So I think that's the widest kind of definition of inclusivity. And I mean, in Singapore, I think we have done really well. For instance, if you go about the trains, you would have lifts, right? Not every train system would have lifts in the world across many cities, for instance. But that's just the physical part. But you can see some of the infrastructure they are built. They are also inclusive for people with different needs, right? Some stations have quieter zones for people to reduce external stimuli, for instance. So I think hardware-wise, we are really very much forward-thinking in doing that. The software-wise, right? Or maybe more like the peopleware, right? We do have more room to improve.
Yes.
Especially, for instance, I remember years ago, no one queued up for boarding the trains. Right? Everyone would just, when the doors open, you just go in. And then suddenly people started queuing up near the CBD area, and then you draw the lines to guide people how to queue. So that was a change in our commuting culture. Right? So now what's the next bound? Could we be more friendly to one another on the train?
Yeah, I totally agree, Samuel. I think we have actually used technology where it's available, whether it's to tell people that when you're going to the next station, which lift may be under servicing and all those. But in SMRT, I think the service culture, the way that the station staff, the ambassador, and we actually make sure that they actually have this additional perspective to look after for inclusiveness, whether it's to look after a young child, whether it's a PMD or maybe somebody sometimes has a dementia issue. We actually have certain rooms and all those to cater for people who may just feel unwell. And so these are all the things we do because it's not only just about the technology. Yes, technology can do a certain part, but the human aspect is something that we are putting focus on.
Let me bring in another element of the human part of it into our discussions, and that's to do with the workforce. And I'm thinking about automation.
Okay.
Now, in terms of automation, will it change workforce requirements? There are so many people working.
Definitely, I think you might be aware that our trains are mainly fully automated now. You can see them moving without drivers. So the next evolution or next area that we're looking with the operators is how do we introduce more automation and digitalization into the maintenance part of it. That means how do we automate how we maintain the trains, how do we overhaul the trains, how do we move materials within the depot so that the maintenance workers don't have to carry them physically, because we're also facing an aging population situation, and having all this machinery or automation to help the workers in the maintenance work is going to be definitely needed for them to undertake their work in a more effective manner. Yeah.
So I think one of the key things talking about automation, especially talking in the area of maintenance overall train, we know we're talking about one example is the Depot 4.0 we have recently launched. But I think beyond the technical aspects of having automated rail vehicles, automated platform that can move certain things and all those, helping the workers and all those, I think the other thing is really you got to look at it from the human perspective. So for example, what we did was that in doing this, we actually sent many of our workers to a production plant in China where they get to see in terms of automation what it makes sense to them, how it is done. But production is different from operation and maintenance in a depot. So when they came back, they were able to work together with the rest of the engineers. What works, what do not work, what is needed, and all. And then by doing that, they have a co-ownership. And it's also true that we recognize that there are certain things that we need to enhance their training and all those, and that's what we do. At the end of the day, it is to bring all this technology and embed it together, getting our people to be even better, enhancing their capabilities. But it is not so much as to talking about replacement or those, but it's really to help making sure that everybody, the level is elevated.
It is indeed a complex issue, but Raymond, how do you ensure that balance between the need for automation and then human supervision?
I think what actually we have to be concerned about is that it's about enabling workers to do more with automation. But that does not mean that the workers do not know how to repair a train, for example, manually, because there may be events whereby the robots may fail. So then there is still a critical skill set that the engineers or the technicians have to know. And we are looking at more likely on upscaling of the technicians and engineers to work with the current work as per normal, and also with robotics and automation. So that human element will never go away.
Exactly correct.
Yeah. Actually, tied to this is the whole issue of AI. SMRT released this information about using Jarvis.
Yes.
How is that all working out?
So Jarvis is an AI-powered platform that we worked on. We started quite a few years back, the conceptualizing, building the small modules first. But I think it was only in 2023-24 where we actually built it into a unified platform and worked together with Oracle. So with our own experience, maintenance experience, engineering experience, we work with Oracle. And it is essentially, Jarvis is a system that we hope to be able to predict a failure before it happens. So maybe I put it in another way, it is to ensure that we actually can detect symptoms that maybe certain system may be starting to behave in a anomaly. There's some anomaly, there's some outlier. And if it's a train, we can actually make the decision that we may want to pull the train back earlier, check on it, such that it doesn't actually break down in a network and cause a disruption. For a mechanical system, we actually can look at it. If we know that it is starting to degrade, but we have a few days to look at it, then we can actually schedule a team to go in to work. At the end of the day, Jarvis is really a platform that it goes beyond the condition monitoring. It goes into the predictive methodologies using AI. And at the end of the day, we hope that we can continue to enhance the reliability and very importantly at a sustainable cost, because we cannot continue to use the traditional way, and this is how as MRT we are positioning ourselves. At the end of the day, we hope that this thing, once is fully rolled out, it will definitely benefit the commuters.
Yeah, like Gunja earlier mentioned this point about unplanned disruptions that can happen. So do you all foresee a situation in the future where AI might be able to predict those faults and also suggest changes, so faster than human, so that disruptions are kept to a minimum?
I think
Should we
it's-
trust it?
I think it's definitely possible, but you must apply it to the right use cases.
Yeah.
Because a system can fail in different ways. Some system, as I mentioned, can fail in a gradual way.
Yeah.
So if for those systems that fail in a gradual way, actually, if you monitor it more closely, you can actually catch it before it reaches the threshold of failure.
Yeah, I think with the use of AI, we'll be able to actually detect where are the possible failure mechanisms. And this, at the behind scale of it, is a fundamental model, physics-informed learning, which will actually help to have some mechanistic behavior behind the AI.
Yeah.
And it's not really just AI using just AI alone. Behind, we have to add in a fundamental railway engineering concepts on the system on systems. And that is where it's so important that the engineers must be trained
right.
in railway engineering. And that domain knowledge is where it's important. And that is where actually it helps to actually predict potential future disruptions. When I say potential, is because that behind there's actually a cascading effect on all the system of systems.
Right.
We need to know that some systems may cause failure, some systems may not.
Yeah.
And that's where it's important. And that professional judgment is where it's needed.
Do you see a bigger role for AI in preventive
If I add
maintenance?
in a more commuter point of view, actually, commuters shouldn't be trusting AI or not trust
Right.
AI, right? The trust is placed in the person or the organization that uses the AI,
Yeah.
right? Because like as was elaborated, it's not just really one system, right? It's not just one AI tool, as if like AI is the thing. Right, but it's the professional expertise, the professional judgment that has gone into creating this tool as a tool in itself, right? So at the end of the day, the AI probably doesn't
Yes.
make the final decision.
Correct.
So the commuters would trust the person or the people using or are enabled by the AI. So that's what the commuters are.
So
focusing.
building on to Samuel's point, he's exactly correct. And that's what we do in SMRT. You have all these systems to help you, to elevate you, to have greater situation awareness, provide decision support. But it is the human at the end that makes the decision. We do not believe that the AI can take over and run everything. I don't think that is a world that we wanted to do.
We don't need AI for everything. I think we need to use AI in the correct manner. So certain analytics, certain analysis may not require AI, but certain use cases will require AI. So the right usage of AI is very important. And just as Hangwan mentioned earlier, actually to underpin all these outcomes that we want to achieve is that we need to have the whole ecosystem to come together, because from the suppliers who provide the systems, they must give the right data and information to the asset buyer, which is out there, and the asset buyer must also have this pass this data to the maintenance and operators, and it must be a closed loop system. What the supplier requires the operator and the asset owner to maintain the asset using the right information and data, then only then the operator and maintenance can do it appropriately. And what Samuel mentioned, Raymond mentioned about having the engineers having the right domain knowledge and the skill sets to decipher and to understand what the data is telling you. Then you take the appropriate actions. I think that's
important.
That's very important. Yeah.
That's
Absolutely. Actually, it's good you brought up the ecosystem, and listening to all of you, there are so many parts of this that we need to address. But let me bring in a question from a commuter perspective. Like when we talk about Changi, when we talk about SIA, there is so much of pride, and we all take the public transport, and yes, it is working quite well, but can we elevate it to the same level?
I think we are at that level already, at least from my perspective, right? And I say it because when we have visitors coming into Singapore, the thing that they leave the country with is knowing that our systems work. It's a very well-functioning city, and in no small part because of how the transport system works. Right? So far, a lot of my visitors, no one really complains about not being able to get around Singapore, right? In fact, what they tell me is, you can use your phone underground, which in some system you do not even have a reception, right? You have great air conditioning. Your trains are air conditioned. Your stations are air conditioned. It's not something that's available everywhere else also, right? And the connectivity between kind of the different train lines, as well as with the buses, with the park connector network and so on, looking at the whole system, actually they are very impressed. Of course, Singaporeans being Singaporeans, we have high expectations, and we always want to strive to do better and better, right? So I think that's the implicit pressure probably on the transport system.
So I think from us, definitely SIA is definitely our benchmark, and we always try to strive it. But as what Samuel said, when we go overseas and all those, actually, if you compare ourselves to the other metros in the world, we are among the top few already. But having said that, the continuous improvement, whether it is reliability, whether to reduce disruption, whether to be able to do service level better. Of course, when talking about service, we're talking about mass transit, not a SIA kind of thing. And I think this is something that we all endeavor to do. And SIA is the benchmark, and we will continue to strive.
I actually agree with what the panelists have been saying. We have reached a certain level of quality and reliability. Actually, the part that just now Argon mentioned a little bit about is how do we maintain or sustain this in a cost-effective manner. So as we go forward, I think there is room for us to think of how can we maintain the same performance but in a more sustainable manner. We are now thinking of things like how can we standardize more of our design. So that we don't need to, for example, for the operators to keep spare parts of different train models, for example. How can we look on the life cycle perspective or total cost of ownership perspective, so that when we purchase an asset, we look beyond just the capex but also the opex, so that we know that this system, when we buy it, is the most financially sustainable decision that we have made. So apart from the reliability and the performance part, the sustainability part or the financial sustainability part is also very important.
There are so many things to look at. But looking 10 to 15 years into the future, how will taking the public transport in Singapore be fundamentally different for the users?
For me, 10 to 15 years is quite a long time. And if you look the advancements of technology nowadays, I would think embodied AI will be one thing that is going to change our transport system. I would anticipate in 10 to 15 years' time, we may start to see humanoids helping out in the stations.
Interesting.
Even in the depot. We can leave some of this mundane work, like patrolling the stations, answer passengers' simple queries. Instead of having our valuable staff doing our more mundane job, they can do more of the higher value job and and customer service job. Going forward, I would think maybe embodied AI can be something that we can look forward to in the future. Yeah.
Besides embodied AI, I think the other thing that we can do is that we're also working on some of the ability to monitor the whole station in terms of for safety and security. You know that every time peak hours, there's really a lot of people, and how do you be able to understand where are all the activities, what are some of the things that maybe people may be bringing certain things that you not required or somebody suspiciously. So these are some of the things that we're already working on, and I think this is the additional thing that besides what Boon Chao talked about, embodied AI and all those are something that we can do, and I think that will also be good for the whole system.
Absolutely.
I think the opening I mentioned about cyber physical emotional systems, and I really see mobility in 15 years' time moving towards cyber physical emotional, whereby we see like robots, AI, data flow, apps interacting with our physical assets, interacting with our humans in a very integrated, seamless manner. And I think that could possibly be real 15 years from today.
That'll be helpful, very helpful too.
I think in this maybe next 1.5 decades, right? I hope that public transport will be kind of the default mode of choice. Means everywhere you go, you are very well connected, and I think there are a lot of works already in the pipeline to make that happen. And I think with the new technology, whether it's the apps that will route us to interesting journeys, or whether it's a new service provision, for example, autonomous vehicle, that can then bring us from our homes to the train station, right? When the traditional buses are not available to bridge the first and last mile. When all these things come together, I would imagine that maybe Singapore might look very different, right? The roads will look different. The public transport will be a very vibrant place in which people move around quickly, efficiently, and also feel healthier because they're moving about, interacting a lot more.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your insights and your perspective, and to our viewers for watching us. We hope the perspectives and insights were meaningful for you. We indeed have much to look forward to when it comes to commuting far more easily and conveniently in Singapore. Do keep watching the Straits Times In Perspective Roundtable. We will be bringing you many more sessions for fresh insights, real perspectives, and meaningful dialogue on issues that matter to us in the months to come.